One of my life verses is, "He who began a good work in you will perfect it until the day of Jesus Christ." And I'm in a stage of my life right now where I'm just leaning on the Lord for, where are you directing me? What would you like me to do? And missions to me means meeting the needs, sharing the love of Jesus, and being ready and available so that when they ask, where does your hope come from, I can share Jesus Christ and salvation with them.
My daughter has foster children, and she's been fortunate to adopt 2 of them. And I think the rest of those kids going out there and having no one to love on them just touches my heart.
We want our children in our programs to know that they're worth more. They're worth more than what society says they are, or worth more than maybe even what their families say they are. And we know that this is through the love of Christ.
To see God in his transforming work, wherever it is, whether it's here, if it's in another country, when he says go, you get to be a part of being on mission with him. And to think that he invites us to come along is a beautiful privilege. And he offers that to all of us.
Why missions? Well, missions is ultimately it's about making God known. And we serve a God, the Father of Jesus, the one true living God, is an amazing God. And he's full of mercy, he's full of love, he's full of grace. He loves to do good for his creation and for his people. And so missions for us came from when our hearts began to align with the heart of God, especially with respect to taking the good news of Jesus Christ to people that don't know Jesus Christ.
What an awesome video. What great people. Well, a year ago at this time, 2 interesting things happened in Tricia and I's life. Both of them actually impact you. First, I was hired to be your missions pastor, and kind of to our surprise a little bit, but we were. And secondly, this other thing happened we all were impacted by. The big freeze, remember it? I remember driving back from here, and after our daughter had their first child, and going to Austin, and trees everywhere broken, everything that had happened. And so I have a conversation like a few days later with Chad Melton, our pastor of ministries. And Chad's telling me about what happened here at the church. The pipes blew and it was a flood and there was damage and all kinds of things. And then something really caught my attention when he says to me, but you know what? I'm not sure if the missions closet sustained any damage. And I got to be honest, I thought, what in the world do you put in a missions closet? Were there people? Skeletons? I don't know. I thought, wow, should I work for this place? Just kidding. So as we kept going, and we finally moved here in April, and a few weeks later, I found the missions closet. And there were flags and books and brochures, some books in languages I could not read nor identify. But here's the interesting thing that a lot of even people who work here don't know. There's another closet. It's called missions also. But here's the thing. That door has not been opened in quite a while. And today, we're opening that closet door. And we're opening it for good. It is not going to be closed again. And as I went into that closet, I found something. It's an untold story. It's a story about people like yourselves who have stepped out on faith and allowed God to use them in all kinds of unique ways. And so what I want to do today is I want you to meet some of these people who are living out what we've been talking about in our series, Religion Made Simple, Faith Expressed in Love. They are loving like Jesus in this life by making Jesus known locally and globally. And here at Faith Bible Church, this is what we mean by that. Building generations of Jesus followers who take grace to our world. And when we say that, this is what we mean. We take grace across the street and we take grace across the ocean. That's what we mean. Locally and globally. And that's what's represented out in that foyer. And so the question is, why? Why in the world do we even do that? Why does Faith Bible Church even put resources toward that? Well, I think it's best summed up by the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians 5:14, 15, and verse 20. For the love of Christ controls us, because we've concluded this, that one has died for all, therefore all died. And he died for all, that those who live might no longer live for themselves, but for him who for their sake died and was raised. Verse 20, therefore we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. Unbelievable. We get to be his ambassadors, his representatives. Locally, globally, we get to do that. He sent his son to die for us, and then he said, now go, represent me, be my ambassador. See, Paul was driven by the love Christ had for him, and his only response was to continue telling others about his love and grace. And so what I want to do with the remainder of our time is I want you to come with me into the closet, and I want you to meet these people. And I don't have time to tell you about all of them, but there are so many great stories. But it's our story together at Faith Bible Church. So what I want you to do is come with me and meet some of these folks. So as I opened the door, I met a couple standing right there at the door. This couple should be right at the door because I'd say Faith Bible missions is on their shoulders. John and Diane Cruz were living in Singapore at the time. And they were meeting missionaries from all over the South Pacific. And these missionaries were telling them stories about all that God was doing. And it gripped their heart. And so after 30 years in the corporate world, John and Diane stepped out and decided to work international missions full time. In their early years, they began to work with an organization called Vision Trust. And their primary focus at the time was the Dominican Republic. John and Diane were leading teams to the DR from Faith Bible Church. And they were being extremely influential because there are so many who I met right off the bat here at Faith Bible who, because of John and Diane, are in missions today. John and Diane later left Vision Trust and started their own organization called Hope for Burundi. The goal there is to share the hope of Christ with the people of Burundi and to see the country restored by partnering with local Burundi Christian leaders who are impacting their country. Let me share with you a few examples. One of the things they identified was early on that there were 50 pastors at local churches who were leading churches and they didn't have a Bible. You imagine that? They were leading their churches and they didn't have a Bible. Hope for Burundi provided Bibles for them. They also began to notice that there were a lot of illnesses due to not clean water. And so they began to provide water filters. They estimated the need for 1,500 filters that they could distribute with the cooperation of local churches in order to not only help these families with clean water, but to also give them living water, to share Christ with these people. Their primary focus over the last few years has been to partner with Home Care, a ministry that provides intensive discipleship and sewing skill training. Over time, 1,600 women that have completed the training are now able to successfully have their own business and provide for their children. This year alone, 61 widows and orphans have celebrated their recent graduation. What an impact. Thank you, John and Diane, for your incredible impact around the globe, or here at Faith Bible Church and in Burundi. So as I kept on walking in that closet, I met another couple. They are at the time when I met them, they're living here in the Woodlands. But this couple used to live in Abilene, Texas. I lived in Lubbock, so I kind of know what that world's like out there. And when they were in Abilene, they were heavily involved in Bible study fellowship. The Bible study fellowship director at the time, she was a former missionary in Africa. And so she still had a heart for Africa, so she started an organization called the Rafiki Foundation. She knew that Dan and Jane were empty nesters. So being a good missionary, she starts challenging them. Pack your bags, go. So Dan and Jane, in their own words, said to me, we shrugged her off. Did you like that one? They shrugged her off, and then finally they took several trips and sensed the Lord leading them. Dan was a pediatrician, and so as they moved over, Dan became the medical director of the Rafiki Foundation, and Jane was director of the Girls Center, a pre-vocational training center for teenage girls who could not afford to go to high school. And so while working with these girls, Jane discovered two things. One, the girls were not safe in their homes for many reasons. And only a few of them had fathers who were at home, and many of those fathers were abusive. Secondly, she realized for the girls to have any hope at all, they had to go to high school. But high school in Kenya is not free. So in response to that, Dan and Jane launched what's called Faith House. And they have three things they are committed to at Faith House. First, there would be a safe, loving, nurturing home where these girls would know and experience God's love for them and know Him as a true and loving Father. Second, they wanted to educate them as far as they could go. And here's what's fascinating to me. Two of the girls have gone all the way to get their graduate degrees. They now have master's degrees, one in counseling and one in nursing. Others have received bachelor's degrees and others have received diplomas. They've given them hope. In all, 57 girls have been cared for in Faith House. The third thing is they wanted them to experience family and see a true role model of what a real father's like. Dan has truly been that for them, to the degree that Dan walked two of them down the aisle when they were married. Would you have loved to have been there to see that, to watch Dan and Jane with that? That would have been awesome. Dan and Jane have truly built an environment there for these women, a loving and nurturing environment where they're spiritually being invested in and their intellectual needs are being invested in as well. Dan and Jane, thank you. Thank you for leading us. Dan is currently an elder here serving at our church, and I'm so thankful for them and their investment here at Faith Bible Church. Well, we've been on the continent of Africa, and we keep on going, and we're coming back here. So you can rest now. We're back in America. You can take your masks off. I guess because you're metaphorically, we just got off the plane, by the way. And we're going to go down the street to Conroe. This couple had never fostered children before, but they had a heart for the fatherless children of the world. This led Joe and Alice Callison to become involved with Angel Reach. It's located in Conroe. Angel Reach offers young adults who have aged out of foster care a safe, temporary residence as they transition into society. Each year, 200 to 300 youth age out of foster care in the greater Houston area. The majority of these young people lack the necessary life skills to take the steps to becoming productive adults. Angel Reach offers GED tutoring, job opportunities, life skills training, and assists in helping these youth develop a life plan that'll provide them with the necessary skills to become productive adults, enhancing their lives and their community. Joe and Alice brought this organization to the attention of Faith Bible Church, and we continue to partner with them today. Angel Reach is outside in the foyer. You should go talk to them and see what are opportunities you can be a part of. It was their passion for foster children. It was their passion for adoption that led them to be involved in local missions, and it led them to be involved in foreign missions. Thank you, Joe and Alice. Thank you for your hearts for foster children and for connecting Faith Bible Church to Angel Reach. So put your mask back on and get back on the airplane, get your passports, because we're going back over. And this is a couple that Tricia and I met early on in our staff life with Campus Crusade for Christ. We had a mutual friend who connected us. And Lord, behold, here we are with them at Faith Bible Church. This couple was living in the Woodlands, attending Faith Bible. Alan was working for an energy company. Ann was teaching at Barbara Bush Elementary School. Alan was serving as an elder here at Faith Bible. And over time, the Lord kept working on their hearts. And the Lord was using this particular verse in their lives. Luke 12:23. Life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. See, they realized they didn't have to worry about food, clothing, because the Lord was providing all that and providing abundantly. But I love what Alan said to me, and I want to read this to you. The issue was focus. We were pretty sure that God was calling us to go overseas. But what was keeping us from 100% commitment? We interpreted food and clothing as the life that we had spent 30 years putting together. Kids, friends, house, jobs, hobbies, systems to experience the American life. We were sure that God could set a table for us in the Woodlands, but did not really want to consider whether or not He could set a table for us in the wilderness. We knew He could, but did not want to experience the wilderness or life outside of our comfort zone. At the end of the day, the table God set for us in the wilderness far exceeded the table we had set for ourselves in the Woodlands. Whew, powerful. You almost could close in prayer right there, right? In 2005, Alan and Ann packed up and left the Woodlands and moved to Tirana, Albania as church planters. In November, I was able to go with Alan. And we were in Albania, we were in Macedonia, meeting people, meeting nationals we were investing in and are investing in today. And you know what was unbelievable? I kept messaging my wife saying, you know, honey, I know Alan and Ann live in the Woodlands, but you would think they live here in Albania. Not because these people want them so badly and they'd love to have them back, but it's because Alan and Ann continued to invest in their lives. We would sit down with people and Alan knew exactly what was happening in their lives. He'd been praying for them. He knew what was going on. What an investment. What an investment. Alan and Ann are here living in the Woodlands again, and they are an incredible resource to us in missions. Alan and Ann, thank you for your influence. Thank you for what you're doing here. But we're staying in Albania. We're not going yet because another couple that God has been working on over the years, some of you know them, some of you may not, Toby and Jennifer Lee, or I like to call her Jen. Toby said it was 10 years ago on a mission Sunday just like this one. But don't be scared. Just listen. Toby shared with me that he heard a clear, audible call from God telling him to go to Albania. He said, I did my best Jonah impersonation. There are no whales in the area that I know of, and ignored his leading for a few years. Toby's advising against the Jonah impersonation. He said it wears on your heart. So meanwhile, what's Jen doing on that mission Sunday? She is so excited about missions. She goes over and she signs up for a short-term trip. And she says, hey, I'm going to Guatemala. And he said, okay, have fun. I am not going. So Toby didn't go. Matter of fact, he told me he kept it, trying to stay as far away from it as he could. But he was willing to keep listening to the Lord. So finally in 2014, he went to Albania. And he was so touched by the people there and so touched by the fact that they had never heard the name of Christ. Now Toby's packing his bags and they're heading out. The Lees are in preparation to go full-time to live in Albania. Their mission is to multiply followers of Jesus by sharing the gospel through the platform of business and leadership. I love this vision. And they're going to do that by offering coaching and training to people of influence and connecting them with local believers here who are willing to disciple and mentor them. And the verse that has really been very impactful to them and they've been clinging to, 1 Thessalonians 2:8. In the same way, we had a fond affection for you and were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you had become very dear to us. They've been gripped by these people and by their hearts have been molded with them. The Lees are in preparation to go. They're raising their financial support. And listen, as much as I love having them here, I want to see them gone. Let's get rid of them. Let's get them out the door. Their goal, July 1st. So I'd ask you to prayerfully and consider coming alongside them financially. Take them to lunch, take them to coffee, dinner, whatever. Get together with Toby and Jen to hear all about what God's doing in their lives and how God wants to use them and use us in continuing to work in Albania. Toby and Jen, thanks for stepping out and following the Lord's calling on your life. And we're praying with you that you get out the door by July 1st. So I kept going in that closet, and this next person actually I got to spend some time with in December in the Dominican Republic. She told me in the year 2000, she was asked to be a chaperone on a youth trip. Betsy Mabry had never gone before. The team was led by John and Diane Cruz. Everything keeps going back to them, right? They were with that organization, Vision Trust. Vision Trust, let me tell you what they're all about. They invest in the development of vulnerable children, equipping them to grow into mature Christians. We do this by empowering local Christian leaders to meet the health, education, and spiritual development needs of these children so that they can thrive in and positively impact their communities. 2 years later, John and Diane moved on to another organization. And so Betsy thought to herself, who's going to lead these trips? Who's going to take care of those kids? Better watch what you ask for, right? Betsy currently leads us in the Dominican Republic. She's led trips there many a time now, and I got to go on one of them in December. Betsy's also now on the board with Vision Trust. So watch out what you ask for, right? We had a great time in December getting to know the nationals we're investing in there. It was exciting to see the children we're investing in, see their lives, and see how God is working there. Betsy has been a huge part of all that's gone on there, and many of you I know have gone. Matter of fact, we were walking around in different places, and Betsy and Mona Hook, who was also leading the trip, they'd say, over here, so-and-so built this, or so-and-so was involved here. This is our story. This is not just these individuals. This is our story. Actually, I'm walking in on your story, and that's what I love. Tricia and I came here not only because God called and led us here, but because we wanted to be a part of your story of going and being a part of what's going on locally and globally. See, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many of your stories that I still have yet to hear, and you have yet to hear. And we're going to begin doing that. We're going to begin highlighting and moving along and letting you hear and see what God's doing. And so what I want to do is close simply with this. Here's a few practical things. Melissa already mentioned this, the card. But let me tell you why I wanted to hand you a card. Not because we needed to get rid of some paper or we like our graphics department, they do a great job. But it's because I'd like you to have this, and I'd like you to keep it and put it in a book, put it in your Bible, wherever, and pray. Pray for these ministries. Pray for these people. Go back to our website and look up who these people are and what God's doing. Go out there to the tables and learn who all we're a part of and what all is going on. You can go on the QR code here if you're comfortable with that. Access that, sign up on a form. I promise you, it commits you to nothing. It doesn't mean you're going overseas. It doesn't mean I'm making you leave. It just simply means we would love to know, what are your interests? Who are you interested? What are your giftings? What does God have for you? Second thing is, as I mentioned, go out there and educate yourself. Please don't leave without talking to all these people who've come and are putting together things for you to get to know and educate yourself on what Faith Bible is a part of. The last opportunity is something Tricia and I actually began just a couple of months ago. We began to sponsor a child, and there are 2 opportunities out there with Guatemala and the Dominican Republic. You can go to their tables. They have pictures of children you can sponsor. You can be a part of. That sponsorship helps these children, education, health-wise, and of course, investment spiritually. Please go by those tables and check them out and be a part of that. So as we're closing, I want you to keep this in mind. Each of you are gifted in a unique way. Missions is going to look different for every single one of us. As you heard those stories, God did something uniquely different in each one of their lives. Oh, they all pushed back, didn't they? But God got them anyway, right? So the Lord wants to do that with us. What's our gifting? Our story of missions is out there, but it's just the beginning. We're going to expand. We're going to do more because God has so much more for us as a church to continue to move forward. I'd love to close with this verse. I think you've heard it before. Jesus said, Matthew 28:18-20, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I've commanded you. And behold, I'm with you always till the end of the age. That's us. We have the God of the universe saying, I'm with you till the end of the age. I'm going with you. He's waiting for us to go.